Let me tell you something. Power ain't always real. Sometimes it's just an illusion waiting to be shattered. And if you've ever dealt with a narcissist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Narcissists thrive on control, and that control is built on manipulation, deception, and a deep understanding of how to keep their victims entangled. They don't seek relationships, they seek dominance. To them, every interaction is a game, every person a pawn, and every moment an opportunity to maintain power. Their control doesn't come from physical strength or even intellectual superiority. It comes from their ability to distort reality and make their victims doubt themselves. It starts subtly. In the beginning, a narcissist often appears charming, confident, even idealistic about the connection they have with you. They say all the right things, make you feel special, and create the illusion of deep emotional intimacy. This isn't genuine love or admiration, it's a setup. They're laying the groundwork for control, ensuring that you become emotionally invested before the real manipulation begins. Once they have you hooked, the game shifts. Their charm begins to fade, replaced by subtle criticisms, backhanded compliments, and carefully crafted doubts designed to weaken your confidence. They gaslight you, make you question your own reality. You'll start hearing phrases like, "I never said that," or "you're overreacting," or "you always take things the wrong way." Slowly, your trust in your own judgment erodes. You begin to second guess yourself, wondering if maybe, just maybe, you really are the problem. And that's exactly what they want. The more uncertain you are, the more power they have. Narcissists crave control because it feeds their fragile ego. Despite their outward arrogance, they are deeply insecure, terrified of being exposed as weak, ordinary, or unworthy. To mask this, they build a false sense of superiority by breaking others down. The more dependent you become on their approval, the stronger they feel. They will isolate you, sometimes physically by discouraging you from spending time with friends or family, or emotionally by making you feel like no one else truly understands you the way they do. They create an environment where your world revolves around them. Every decision you make, every emotion you feel, every goal you set, somehow it all ties back to them. And if you dare to step outside their control, they retaliate. They punish with silent treatments, guilt trips, or explosive outbursts designed to bring you back in line. This is where many people feel trapped. They've invested so much in the relationship, time, energy, love, that they fear walking away. They believe if they just try harder, love more, or prove their worth, things will get better. But the truth is, nothing you do will ever be enough. A narcissist's need for control is insatiable. The more you give, the more they take. At the heart of their control is fear. Fear that you will wake up to their manipulation. Fear that you will no longer seek their validation. Fear that you will leave and prove they were never as powerful as they wanted you to believe. They keep you in a state of confusion, walking on eggshells, afraid to upset them, because deep down, they know that the moment you truly see them for who they are, the illusion of their power is shattered, and that is why they work so hard to keep you emotionally invested. Their control depends on your engagement. Even when you argue with them, even when you cry, even when you beg for change, you are still playing their game. Because as long as you're reacting, you're still involved. And as long as you're involved, they still have control. But what happens when you stop playing? What happens when you step back, refuse to engage, and no longer give them the reaction they crave? That's when their world begins to crumble, because in reality, their power was never real. It was borrowed from you. The moment you recognize that and take back your power, the narcissist is left with nothing. A narcissist's power is not real power. It's an illusion carefully crafted through deception, manipulation, and control. They project an image of strength, confidence, and superiority, but beneath that facade lies deep insecurity and fear. The control they exert over others is not a reflection of their true dominance, but a desperate attempt to mask their own weaknesses. Their entire sense of self-worth is built on external validation, and without it, they begin to unravel. At first glance, a narcissist appears invincible. They walk into a room with an air of confidence, speak with authority, and seem completely sure of themselves. They make bold claims, exaggerate their accomplishments, and dismiss anyone who questions them. This outward bravado makes them seem powerful, but in reality, they are constantly seeking reassurance. Every boastful statement, every attempt to belittle someone else, and every demand for attention is fueled by a deep-seated fear of being exposed. They build their illusion of power by controlling controlling the narrative. They rewrite history, distort the truth, and gaslight those around them to maintain their version of reality. If they hurt someone, they blame the victim. If they fail at something, they shift responsibility. If someone challenges them, they either discredit that person or pretend the criticism never happened. The narcissist is never at fault in their own mind because admitting weakness would shatter the illusion they have worked so hard to maintain. Their control extends into relationships where they manipulate emotions to keep people attached. They use love bombing to draw others in, showering them with praise and attention, only to withdraw that affection when it suits them. This creates emotional dependency where the victim craves the validation the narcissist once provided. The cycle of approval and rejection keeps the victim constantly seeking their approval, making them easier to control. This is how a narcissist sustains their illusion of power, by making others believe they are the source of validation, love, and worth, but their power is fragile. Unlike true strength, which comes from confidence, integrity, and inner stability, a narcissist's power is entirely dependent on external reinforcement. They need people to admire them, fear them, or at the very least acknowledge them. The moment they are ignored, dismissed, or abandoned, the cracks in their illusion begin to show. When they no longer have an audience to manipulate, their carefully constructed reality starts to collapse. This is why narcissists react so intensely when they feel they are losing control. If a victim begins to pull away, they will do everything in their power to reel them back in. They may switch from cruelty to kindness, offering apologies and promises of change. If that doesn't work, they may try to instill fear, making threats, spreading lies, or trying to ruin the victim's reputation. If they can no longer control the victim directly, they seek control through other means, ensuring that even in their absence, their influence lingers. Yet no matter how desperately they fight to maintain their power, it is not sustainable. A narcissist cannot maintain the illusion forever because it is built on deception. Eventually, people see through their act. They recognize the patterns of manipulation, the emotional games, and the constant shifting of blame. And once the illusion is exposed, the narcissist's power fades. True power does not come from control. It comes from authenticity, from standing in truth, from being whole without the need to manipulate others. A narcissist can never achieve this kind of strength because their entire existence is based on a lie. They are not powerful, they are afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid of being insignificant, afraid of being seen for who they really are. The illusion of their power exists only as long as people believe in it. The moment someone refuses to play their game, refuses to seek their approval, and refuses to engage in their manipulations, the narcissist loses their grip. Without their audience, without their supply, they are nothing more than a hollow shell, desperately trying to hold on to a power that was never real to begin with. Walking away is the most powerful thing you can do when dealing with a narcissist because it strips them of the one thing they depend on: control. A narcissist's power is not built on their own strength, but on the energy, attention, and emotional reactions they extract from others. Every argument, every moment of self-doubt, every attempt to reason with them only feeds their ego and solidifies their control. They thrive on keeping you engaged, whether through love, fear, guilt, or obligation. The moment you remove yourself from the equation, their entire dynamic begins to crumble. At first, they will try to pull you back in. They will use every tool at their disposal: apologies, false promises, guilt trips, or even threats. They may suddenly become kind and affectionate, claiming they have changed or that they finally understand what you need. This is not genuine growth. It is a tactic, a last-ditch effort to reestablish their hold over you. If kindness doesn't work, they will shift to manipulation, using emotional blackmail or even trying to turn others against you. They will say whatever they need to say to keep you within their reach. When a narcissist realizes you are serious about walking away, their panic intensifies. They may lash out, trying to provoke a reaction. They may insult you, degrade you, or try to make you feel like you are nothing without them. They will push every button they know, hoping to trigger you into responding. But this is the trap, because any response, even anger, means they still have power over you. Engaging with them, even to defend yourself, keeps you tied to them. True freedom comes when you stop reacting, when you no longer seek their validation, no longer explain yourself, no longer justify your choices. Their control evaporates. This is why walking away is the ultimate weapon. It is the one thing they cannot manipulate. You take back your time, your energy, and your emotions, leaving them with nothing. A narcissist cannot exist without an audience. They need someone to dominate, someone to manipulate, someone to reflect their false sense of superiority. Without that, they are forced to face the emptiness within themselves. Walking away is not just a physical act, it is a psychological and emotional detachment. It means cutting all ties, blocking their attempts to reach you, and refusing to be drawn back into their games. It means accepting that closure will not come from them, but from within yourself. A narcissist will never give you the apology or acknowledgement you seek, because doing so would mean admitting fault. True closure comes from recognizing that their approval was never real power, and their rejection was never a reflection of your worth. As you distance yourself, something incredible happens. The fog lifts, the self-doubt fades. You begin to see the manipulation for what it was, and you realize how much of yourself you lost in trying to keep them happy. The space that was once occupied by their demands, their criticisms, their chaos, it becomes yours again. You start to heal, to rebuild, to rediscover who you are without their influence. And the narcissist, they struggle. They scramble to find a new source of control, a new person to manipulate. They will pretend they never needed you, but inside they are spiraling. Their entire existence is built on controlling others. And without that, they are left with their own insecurities, their own emptiness, their own unresolved wounds. Walking away is not just about leaving them behind. It is about reclaiming your power. It is about choosing peace over chaos, self-worth over validation, freedom over control. It is a statement that you will no longer be a pawn in their game. And once you make that choice, you don't just escape, you rise. You become everything they never wanted you to be: strong, independent, and untouchable. When a narcissist loses control over their target, they begin to unravel. Their entire identity is built on the ability to manipulate, dominate, and extract emotional responses from others. Without a constant supply of attention, admiration, or conflict, they are left with nothing but themselves, and that is their greatest fear. The collapse of a narcissist is not just a moment of weakness. It is a full-blown internal crisis where their carefully constructed facade starts to break apart, revealing the insecurity, emptiness, and fear they have spent their entire lives running from. The first stage of collapse is desperation. When they realize that their usual tactics are no longer working, they go into overdrive, attempting to reassert control in any way possible. They may switch between kindness and cruelty, using apologies, promises, and declarations of love one moment and rage, insults, and blame the next. They do not care about changing or making things right. They only care about regaining control. They will say whatever they think will keep their grip on you. If one approach fails, they will try another, cycling through manipulation tactics in rapid succession. If they still cannot regain control, the second stage begins: rage. Narcissistic rage is unlike ordinary anger. It is explosive, irrational, and often disproportionate to the situation. They lash out verbally, emotionally, or even physically in extreme cases. They may try to damage your reputation, spread lies about you, or turn mutual friends or family against you. They will stop at nothing to make you suffer for daring to walk away, because in their mind, losing control over you is the ultimate insult. They would rather destroy you than accept that you have broken free from their grasp. But what happens when their rage fails? When you remain unbothered? When you do not react? When you refuse to play their game? That is when the real collapse begins. Without a target to manipulate, without an emotional response to feed off, the narcissist is left alone with themselves. And this is the one thing they cannot handle. Their entire persona, the false confidence, the superiority, the manipulation is designed to avoid confronting their true selves. When they are left without a source of control, they spiral into a deep internal crisis. During this stage, they may become self-destructive. Some narcissists fall into depression, experiencing overwhelming feelings of worthlessness and emptiness. Others seek out new victims, desperately trying to latch on to someone else who will give them the validation they crave. However, their behavior becomes increasingly erratic, as their previous strategies are no longer as effective. The cracks in their persona are showing, and those around them start to see through the illusion. As their control over others weakens, they begin to feel powerless. The very thing they feared most, irrelevance, becomes their reality. They may continue trying to reach out using guilt, nostalgia, or pity to get back into your life, but the truth is they are no longer in control. Their collapse is not a moment of self-reflection or growth. It is a breakdown caused by the loss of their ability to manipulate. Meanwhile, you continue to rise. You find clarity, strength, and self-worth in ways you never could while under their control. The more distance you put between yourself and their influence, the more you realize that their power was never real. It was only ever the illusion they created, and the moment you stopped believing in it, it disappeared. Their collapse is not your responsibility. It is not your burden to carry. The narcissist's downfall is the consequence of their own actions, the inevitable result of a life spent controlling and manipulating others. They were never truly powerful. They only had as much power as you gave them. And now, as you move forward, free from their grasp, their downfall is nothing more than the final proof that they were never as strong as they wanted you to believe. Healing after walking away from a narcissist is not just about moving on. It's about reclaiming yourself, your peace, and your identity. For too long, the narcissist controlled the narrative, shaping your thoughts, emotions, and even your perception of reality. They made you doubt yourself, question your worth, and feel as though you were only valuable in relation to them. Breaking free is the first step, but true healing comes when you rebuild from the inside out, strengthening the parts of yourself that they tried to weaken. At first, it may feel like a void. Narcissists create a cycle of emotional highs and lows, making their victims dependent on the unpredictable nature of the relationship. When you finally break free, there's an initial shock and emptiness where their chaos used to be. Even though they caused pain, their presence was familiar, and that familiarity can be hard to let go of. You might find yourself questioning if you made the right choice, replaying memories, or even missing the brief moments of kindness they showed. This is normal. It is the mind's way of adjusting to a reality without manipulation. The key is to recognize that missing them does not mean they were good for you. It simply means you are human and you are healing. As the emotional fog clears, a new kind of awareness emerges. You start to see the manipulation for what it was. You remember the times they made you feel small, the moments when you doubted yourself, the way they twisted situations to make themselves look like the victim. The truth, once hidden under layers of gaslighting and self-doubt, becomes... This realization can be painful, but it is also empowering. It is the turning point where you stop blaming yourself and start understanding that their behavior was never about you, it was about them. The next step in healing is rebuilding self-trust. A narcissist thrives on making you question yourself, your decisions, and even your perceptions. They condition you to seek their approval, making you feel like you need their validation to be right. Walking away means breaking that conditioning, but the effects don't disappear overnight. You may hesitate to trust your own judgment, second-guess your choices, or fear that you'll end up in a similar situation again. The way forward is through small, intentional steps, making choices for yourself, listening to your intuition, and affirming that you are capable and strong. Each decision you make on your own terms is a step toward reclaiming your independence. Healing also requires setting boundaries. Narcissists violate boundaries as a way of maintaining control, making their victims feel guilty for asserting themselves. After walking away, it is crucial to define what is acceptable in your life and to stand firm in enforcing those boundaries. This may mean cutting off contact completely, refusing to engage with their attempts to pull you back in, or learning to say no without guilt. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting your energy, your peace, and your emotional well-being. Self-care becomes a priority in ways it never was before. Narcissists drain their victims emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically. They demand attention, create unnecessary conflict, and consume all available energy. Once they are gone, it is time to redirect that energy back to yourself. This means rest, nourishment, and engaging in activities that bring joy and fulfillment. It means reconnecting with hobbies, friendships, and passions that may have been neglected during the relationship. The goal is not just to survive without them, it is to thrive. Perhaps the most profound part of healing is recognizing your own strength. The fact that you walked away means you have a resilience that the narcissist never expected. They wanted you to believe you needed them, but in reality, they needed you. Without your energy, their power crumbles. As you heal, you begin to see yourself not as a victim, but as someone who overcame manipulation, reclaimed their voice, and built a future on their own terms. The journey forward is one of growth, clarity, and empowerment. There will be moments of doubt, but there will also be moments of undeniable strength. Each day away from the narcissist is a step toward freedom, and each step forward is a testament to your ability to rise above the control they once held over you. You are not defined by what you endured. You are defined by the courage it took to walk away and the strength it takes to heal. Walking away from a narcissist is not just an act of self-preservation. It is an act of reclaiming your power. Their control was never real strength. It was an illusion built on manipulation, fear, and deception. The moment you break free, their power begins to unravel, and their carefully crafted image collapses under the weight of their own insecurity. But your journey does not end with their downfall. It begins with your healing. True freedom comes not just from leaving them behind, but from rediscovering yourself, rebuilding your confidence, and learning learning to trust your own voice again. It comes from setting boundaries, embracing your worth, and no longer allowing anyone to define you through their distorted lens. Their collapse is inevitable, but your rise is unstoppable. You are not what they tried to make you believe. You are stronger, wiser, and more resilient than they ever imagined. Walking away was the first step. Thriving without them is the final victory.